Hello and welcome to Lost Love Chronicles.
My name is Kurt. I'm not claiming to be the world's greatest husband. I wasn't writing love poems or leaving daily sticky note affirmations on the bathroom mirror. But after 8 years of marriage to my wife Stacy, things felt fine. Not picture perfect, not storybook, but solid. We both had full-time jobs, shared calendars, and squeezed in the occasional date night. If we weren't already passed out by 9:30. I thought we were good, comfortable even. Like an old hoodie, not exciting, not brand new, but familiar and warm. Apparently, Stacy saw it as a slow-motion collapse of romance. Unbeknownst to me, Stacy had been holding secret conferences with her divorced friends. You know, the kind of people who call red flags decorations and think toxic is just a spicy personality trait. These women, who I'm convinced read The Art of War instead of the 5 love languages, had been whispering sweet nonsense into Stacy's ear, that I wasn't romantic enough, that I wasn't fighting for her. Fighting for her? We live in a gated community, not Westeros. And the worst part? I didn't even know any of this was going on until after the fact. At the time, I thought I was losing my mind. Legitimately. I was this close to calling a psychic or at least downloading one of those shady couple tracking apps with a 2.1-star rating and a Russian name. The madness began about 6 weeks ago. That's when Stacy, sweet, predictable, flannel pajama-wearing Stacy, started behaving like she was auditioning for a role in Desperate Housewives, Corporate Edition. Suddenly, she was working late all the time. Not just stuck in a meeting late, but comes home looking like she just got done filming a commercial for Bad Decisions late. I'd ask how her day went, trying to keep it casual like, hey, how was work? And she'd pull this maneuver like, oh, busy, then drift off into space like she was trying to remember which fake alibi she picked that day. Suspicious? Sure. Subtle? Not even remotely. Then came the transformation. Getting ready for work suddenly turned into a full Broadway production. She was curling her hair, wearing eyeliner, spritzing perfume, mind you, for accounting meetings. This woman once wore pajama pants to a Zoom call with the regional manager, and now she's putting on Chanel No. 5 to check spreadsheets? Okay, at first, I chalked it up to our anniversary coming up. Maybe she was planning something? A surprise? Something sweet and sentimental to make me cry like I did during the last 5 minutes of Up? Spoiler alert, no? Then came the phone. The sacred object. The new third party in our marriage. It would buzz at weird hours, 11:12 p.m., 2:03 a.m., just the normal hours people need urgent updates on budget reports, right? And every time I glance at it, she'd snatch it like it contained state secrets and casually mutter, it's work? Or maybe my sister. Yes, her sister, who is 38 and goes to bed at 9:15 with chamomile tea and a heated blanket. And the defensiveness? Oh, chef's kiss. Why are you so paranoid? She'd snap. Can't a woman be busy and independent? Sure. But can a woman be busy, independent, and also lying through her perfectly whitened teeth? Because that's what it felt like. Then came the final cherry on this gaslight Sunday. She came home one night just before midnight, claiming she was out with the girls. Oh, of course. Totally normal girls' night vibes. Except she reeked of men's cologne, and her lipstick looked like it had been in a fight with a Brillo pad. I asked, calmly, so, what's up with the smell and the makeup? And she hit me with, I must have hugged someone goodbye. Yeah, hugged. Goodbye. Sure. You ever seen someone try to lie and forget how blinking works? Because she could not look me in the eye without blinking like a malfunctioning animatronic at Chuck E. Cheese. At that point, I wasn't even angry. I was impressed. The sheer commitment to the bit. But from then on, I went full detective mode. Watching, listening, waiting. And the signs? Oh, they just kept piling up. So yeah, the red flags weren't just fluttering. They were doing synchronized backflips and lighting themselves on fire. She started taking calls in the other room. And I'm not talking casual. Hey, let me get this real quick calls. No, she'd pick up, whisper like she was in a spy movie. And if I walked in, click, phone down, smile up. Oh, hey babe, I was just talking to, work. Sure, work. I didn't know work had a deep voice and made you giggle like a teenager at a sleepover. Then there was the laundry. Suddenly she was doing it all the time, like she was in a detergent commercial. Only, she'd act all cagey if I even glanced at the hamper, like it held the lost scrolls of adultery. If I so much as leaned toward a pile, she'd teleport across the room. Oh, I got it. You don't need to touch that. Which, by the way, was very suspicious coming from the same woman who once made me rewear socks because she wasn't in a laundry mood. And the showers. She used to come home, kick off her shoes, pour a glass of wine, and melt into the couch like a normal, overworked human. Now, she beelines straight to the bathroom the second she walks in the door, like the driveway was coated in shame and needed to be scrubbed off with eucalyptus body wash. She even started bringing her clothes into the bathroom with her. I didn't even know she knew where the laundry basket was. But the real kicker? Mitchell. Freaking Mitchell. She suddenly had a new favorite topic at dinner. And spoiler alert, it wasn't me. It was, oh, Mitchell said the funniest thing today. And Mitchell helped me with that big project. And Mitchell thinks pineapple on pizza is criminal. Well, congratulations, Mitchell. You're now the third wheel in my marriage. I asked about him one night while she was chopping vegetables like she was trying to murder a cucumber. So, Mitchell, huh? You seem to talk about him a lot. She didn't even look up. Oh, he's just a coworker. What? Just seems like you know a lot about his personal life. Motorcycle, rock climbing, recently divorced? Kind of in-depth for someone you just share spreadsheets with, don't you think? Cue the dramatic pause. Kurt, you're being paranoid. Ah yes, paranoid. The favorite word of people actively lying to your face. She said she was just stressed from work, tired, needed space. So I gave her space. I gave her more space than Neil Armstrong. And somehow, that just made things worse. The more room I gave her, the more it felt like I was living with a distant cousin who hated eye contact. Still, I tried. God help me, I tried. But I'm not the kind of guy to just sit back and hum lullabies while my life burns to the ground. Then came the final insult to my barely holding it together dignity. 2 weeks ago, she said she was having dinner with her sister. Cool. Fine. Sister time. Great. Except, I ran into her actual sister in the grocery store that same night, and I, being the clueless optimist I still was at that point, said hey. Tell Stacy I said hi. Hope you guys are having a fun dinner. Her sister looked at me like I'd told her the moon was made of cheese. Dinner? With me? I haven't seen her in, like, a week. Boom. There it was. Game over. Curtain call. That night, when Stacy finally strolled in, hair done, breath minty, suspiciously chipper, I asked her point blank, are you having an affair? And she did what any guilty person does when they get caught. She cried. Like, full-on Oscar-worthy, mascara down the face tears. How could you think that? I love you. I would never cheat on you. Oh good, glad we cleared that up. Except, you still haven't explained where you really were or why you lied about dinner with your sister. Which is kind of like saying you weren't speeding after getting pulled over and handed the ticket. I didn't sleep at all that night. My brain was doing cartwheels, connecting dots, rewatching every conversation, and replaying all the red flags like a bad Netflix show I couldn't stop binging. That's when it hit me. I couldn't keep doing this. Living in emotional purgatory, waiting to see if my wife was cheating or just auditioning for a master's degree in shady behavior. I needed clarity. Or closure. Or maybe just someone to tell me I wasn't losing my mind. So, I started looking into my options. Private investigator? Maybe. Some trench coat wearing guy who follows her around and takes grainy photos from behind bushes. I didn't end up hiring one, but I did start Googling divorce lawyers. You know, just to see what the landscape looked like. And honestly, I was preparing myself for the worst case scenario. So there I was, mentally preparing to start my life over. You know, the whole tragic country song scenario. Wife cheats on me with a motorcycle riding, rock climbing office bro, and I get to eat sad pizza over the sink in a studio apartment while Googling how to date in your 30s without crying. But then, last Tuesday, everything changed. And not in a good way. Not in a surprise birthday party kind of way. No, more like your cat is actually a raccoon and also your house is on fire kind of way. Stacy's friend Lauren, bless her permanently tipsy soul, calls me. Drunk. Like, drunk. Slurring every third word and cackling like she'd just won a reality show. I pick up the phone, and before I can even say hello, she's already mid-celebration. Kurt, oh my god, we're so proud of Stacy. Like, she finally did it. It's working. You're finally paying attention to her again. I blinked. Lauren, what are you talking about? And that, folks, is when the floor metaphorically fell out from under me. Lauren, in her boozy wisdom, spilled the beans like a toddler with a colander. Apparently, my loving wife and her council of chaos, Lauren, Melanie, and Jessica, aka the three divorceteers, had cooked up this elaborate let's pretend Kurt's wife is cheating scheme to, wait for it, make me more attentive. Because nothing says healthy communication like psychologically torturing your spouse. They told Stacy that the best way to make me appreciate her was to make me think she was about to run off with a leather jacket wearing rock climber named Mitchell. That's right. Their logic was, make him fear infidelity, and voila, flowers and candlelit dinners. And the worst part? They were congratulating themselves. Like they'd invented romantic chemotherapy. Lauren, between hiccups and what I assume was wine burping, goes, oh, and the motorcycle thing? That was Melanie's idea. Ha ha ha, he doesn't really climb rocks. We just thought that made him sound hot. I hung up the phone. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just sat there for an hour, staring at nothing, processing, sorting through the psychological dumpster fire that was my marriage. First came the relief. Oh, thank God she's not actually cheating. Then confusion. Wait, why would anyone do this? And finally, rage. The kind of white-hot fury that makes your vision blur and your left eye twitch involuntarily. I was livid, not because I had been jealous, but because my wife had purposefully orchestrated this slow-motion nervous breakdown for me and called it a joke. She came home that night like it was just another Tuesday, set her purse down, took off her shoes, probably thinking, what a great day of fake emotional terror. And I looked her dead in the eye and said, Lauren called. Boom. Instant color drain. It was like watching a human-shaped carton of milk go sour in real time. She froze. Then the tears started. The "I'm so sorry, Kurt" speech came pouring out like it was cued by a teleprompter. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she sobbed. It was just a silly joke. I was going to tell you soon. A joke? I snapped. Faking an affair is a joke to you? What part of watching me unravel emotionally was hilarious? Was it the part where I lost sleep, or the part where I started Googling how to divorce someone without burning down the house? She kept trying to explain. My friends just said our marriage was getting kind of stale, and that maybe you were taking me for granted. I didn't think it'd work this well. Oh, don't worry, I said, with all the sarcasm I could humanly muster. It definitely worked. I've never been more loving, more paranoid, and more completely and utterly emotionally derailed in my life. She sniffled and tried again. But you have been more attentive lately. It means you still care. Oh yeah, nothing says I still care, like spiraling into jealousy and slowly losing trust in my own sanity. Truly, romance at its finest. And that's when I hit my limit. I told her flat out. What you did wasn't funny. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't clever. It was sick. It was manipulative. You didn't try to talk to me about how you were feeling. You skipped straight to emotional warfare and let me suffer. For weeks. I told her straight up, point blank. I've lost sleep, Stacy. I've lost weight. I've been walking around like a caffeinated skeleton, thinking my entire marriage was disintegrating while you and your girlfriends played a twisted round of how to emotionally wreck your husband for fun. She just kept crying and repeating the same broken record of, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. But here's the thing, and this is what no one seems to get when I try to explain it. They all look at me like I'm a sensitive hummingbird flapping too hard in a breeze. But this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't, oops, I spilled red wine on the couch. No, this was a coordinated psychological campaign, like emotional waterboarding, designed to intentionally mess with my mind. And guess what? It worked. To perfection. Which means that my loving wife, the woman I said I do, too, sat there across from me at dinner, watching me stew in my own confusion and misery like it was a live sitcom. She saw the doubt in my eyes, the tension in my shoulders, the way I flinched every time her phone buzzed after 9 p.m., and she knew exactly why. Because she caused it. On purpose. With spreadsheets, probably. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I realized that every time I tried to have an actual grown-up conversation. Hey Stacy, you've been acting a little distant lately. Can we talk? She made me feel like I was a paranoid freak wearing a tinfoil hat. Kurt, you're imagining things. You need to stop being so insecure. Right. Sorry for noticing your sudden transformation into a Victoria's Secret model who showers immediately after working late. And those mysterious texts? The ones that came in after bedtime and were answered with the speed of a teenager hiding her phone from a teacher? Oh, that's just work? Or maybe my sister. Amazing. Apparently, her sister is a vampire who works in IT support. She gaslit me so hard I started Googling if maybe I was the problem. Like, am I overreacting, or is my wife cheating? Top result? Yes. And the cherry on top? Her friends, those dollar store knockoff versions of the Witches of Eastwick, thought it was funny. They sat around sipping wine, probably eating hummus, cackling about how well their Operation Gaslight Kurt plan was working. Can you imagine being the punchline to a group chat full of divorced women who wear yoga pants unironically and quote, eat, pray, love, like it's the Constitution? OMG, Kurt totally believed it. LOL, he's, like, so jealous now. Mission accomplished. Meanwhile, I was sitting in the shower like a sad raccoon, wondering how my life turned into an emotional escape room. And Stacy? Oh, she was in on all of it. She didn't just know, she actively participated. She committed to the role like it was a performance at the Met Gala. Emotional manipulation, starring Stacy, with special guest appearance by my shattered trust. I told her I needed time to think. But let's be honest, that was code for I can't stand another second breathing the same air as the woman who made me feel like I was losing my mind on purpose. So I did what any emotionally wrecked man in pajama pants would do. I blindly started throwing clothes into bags and boxes like I was escaping a hostage situation. No folding, no sorting, just pure, frantic chaos. I left most of my stuff in a storage unit that now looks like it was packed by a raccoon on a Red Bull binge, and took only the essentials to my brother's place. While I was there, trying to remember how to human again, I kept asking myself, what does this mean for our marriage? Can I even trust her again? Because really, if your partner can lie to your face for weeks, let you suffer on purpose, and then call it a wake-up call, what else are they capable of? My brother, who once lost his debit card in a box of Pop-Tarts, and my parents, who still think Facebook is the news, told me I was overreacting. She didn't cheat on you, Kurt. She just wanted your attention. Yeah, and the Titanic was just trying to cool off. They don't get it. No one does. Because unless you've lived through that nightmare, waking up every day thinking your wife is in love with a rock-climbing office Casanova, you don't know what it feels like. You don't know the mental gymnastics, the constant pit in your stomach, the questioning every memory you had with someone you thought you could trust. The emotional damage? It's the same. Whether she actually cheated or just did a full Broadway performance of Watch Me Pretend To, the betrayal is real. I couldn't stop picturing her with this Mitchell guy, imagining what they were doing, wondering what I'd done wrong, how long it had been going on, if she ever actually loved me, or if she just settled for me, until someone better came along. I was already mentally cataloging who gets the toaster and who keeps the cat we never bought. I'd started scoping out depressing single-bedroom rentals with suspiciously vague listings like charming fixer-upper, read, no toilet, and crafting drafts of how I'd tell people that, yep, my marriage had exploded like a gas leak in a candle shop. And you know what the worst part was? All that mental and emotional torture, totally unnecessary, caused by someone who, and I quote, loves me. Yeah, loves me so much she decided to psychologically waterboard me for sport. At least one logistical detail was easy. The housing. Thank God for small favors. Since the lease was in her name, Stacy, the queen of chaos, I was the one who had to pack up and go. I didn't even get to fight over it. The paper says I stay, she told me with a smile that made me want to headbutt drywall. So I crashed at my brother's place for 4 days. 4 long days. That's all it took. I sat on his couch, stared at the ceiling fan, and had the kind of existential crisis you usually need mushrooms or a midlife Porsche for. Then I made the decision. I marched into a divorce lawyer's office, unloaded the whole saga on him like I was dropping a dead raccoon on his desk. And you know what this guy said? Wow, he blinked. I've never heard anything like that. Well, buckle up, I said. It gets dumber. He told me, very calmly, very legally, that emotional abuse and manipulation were definitely grounds for divorce, and that what Stacy had pulled showed, and I quote, a fundamental lack of respect for me and for the institution of marriage. Which I appreciated, because I needed someone in a suit to validate that I wasn't just going crazy. So I went home, looked Stacy dead in the eye, and said, I filed for divorce. Cue meltdown. She went full soap opera, screaming, crying, collapsing on the floor like her bones had gone on strike. Don't leave me, she wailed. I'll do anything. I'll never listen to my friends again. I've learned my lesson. I just blinked at her and said, the lesson you should have learned was, don't emotionally torture your husband for fun. And then I added, also, maybe don't hang out with Melanie, whose idea of a healthy relationship is whatever's happening on The Bachelor. You'd think that would be the end, right? Nope. She called her parents. She called my parents. Suddenly I'm getting calls like it's a telethon. Sweetie, maybe divorce is a bit extreme, her mom said, like I was overreacting to a bad haircut. My dad, maybe just go to therapy, son. Talk it out. She didn't actually cheat, right? Right. She just pretended to cheat. You know, for kicks. I told them, I don't want to work on this. I don't want to fix a marriage where my wife thinks gaslighting me is a cute bonding activity. Then Lauren and Melanie, aka the Chaos Goblins, had the sheer audacity to call me. Lauren said you're being too sensitive. It was just a harmless joke. I replied, oh great. I'll remember that next time I fake my own death for a prank. They told me Stacy had learned her lesson. I told them, if you think this was harmless, then you're more screwed up than a pretzel in a vice. And then I added, you probably destroyed my marriage for your own entertainment, because God forbid you see someone else happy when your own love lives are train wrecks with Spotify playlists. Lauren got defensive, naturally. She said you weren't romantic enough, that you didn't pay enough attention to her. We were just trying to help. I said help? Right. Like lighting my house on fire to help me warm up. If she had issues, she could have talked to me, not plotted some deranged social experiment with her coven. But what really sticks with me, really sticks, is how Stacy still doesn't get it. She keeps zeroing in on this one magical fact. I didn't actually cheat. Like that's supposed to be comforting. Like I'm supposed to throw a parade because she only pretended to break my heart. As if that makes it better. Honestly, the emotional impact was exactly the same. Maybe worse, actually. Because the kicker is, she did it on purpose. That makes it somewhat worse, not better. So yeah, I've been staying at my brother's place for 2 weeks now. And let me tell you, nothing soothes a broken marriage like a futon that smells like gym socks and sadness. Meanwhile, Stacy has been texting me nonstop. Like, Olympic-level texting. Paragraphs. Novels. I swear one message had footnotes. She even sent me this long, dramatic email, complete with a subject line that read, "Please read this, Kurt," as if I was going to mistake it for a limited-time mattress sale. In it, she says she realizes she made a mistake. You don't say? And that she wants us to go to couples therapy and rebuild our trust. Right. Trust. You know, that delicate little thing that's super easy to rebuild after weeks of calculated deceit. Totally fixable with a couples counselor and maybe a scented candle. But here's the kicker. Everyone keeps asking me, Kurt, are you really going to throw away 8 years of marriage over one little incident? One little incident? Oh, you mean the multi-week emotional escape room my wife engineered just to see how much I care? The one where she let me slowly spiral into paranoia while she and her girl gang cackled like it was a brunch special? That little incident? Let's call it what it was, emotional Guantanamo. I was losing sleep. Couldn't eat. I genuinely thought I was going crazy. And all the while, she was right there, watching me melt down like a cheap candle. But it was okay, because she was testing me. For loyalty. Like I'm a golden retriever. Then, yesterday, the divorce papers were finally served. Ding dong, the trust is dead. And of course, Stacy called me in tears. Full waterworks. She said she'd cut off Lauren, Melanie, and Jessica, which, sure, thanks, but also too late. Because the problem isn't the friends. The problem is that she heard their advice and went, yes, this seems sound. I'll emotionally torture my husband. That'll definitely improve intimacy. And now I'm the bad guy. Everyone's acting like I burned down an orphanage because I dared to file for divorce. I'm throwing everything away. Sure, let's pretend marriage is a casino chip and not a sacred agreement to not play psychological mind games with your partner. But here's what really gets me. If Lauren hadn't gotten drunk and spilled the truth like a spilled margarita at girls' night, Stacy would have let the whole thing continue. She never planned to tell me. I would have kept spiraling while she watched from the sidelines with popcorn. That tells me everything I need to know about who she really is. So yeah, that's where we are now. I'm getting divorced, and everyone thinks I'm crazy for leaving my wife over what they're calling a harmless joke. Which is cute. Real knee slapper. Next time someone wants to prank me, maybe try a whoopee cushion instead of dismantling my sense of reality. You know, earlier Stacy's little Thursday wine nights used to seem harmless enough. A glass or 3 of cheap Merlot with the girls, some gossip, the occasional story about Jessica's latest Tinder disaster. I figured, let her have it. Everyone needs an outlet. A hobby. Turns out her hobby was my emotional destruction. Let me introduce the coven. There's Lauren. Lauren got divorced 2 years ago after her husband cheated on her with his secretary. Which, yes, is terrible, but Lauren didn't just survive. She built her whole personality around it. She wears bitterness like it's a fashion scarf. Then there's Melanie, divorced twice and now dating some guy she met on a dating app who, based on her own weekly complaints, may in fact be a haunted mirror with a gym membership. And Jessica? Jessica just got her divorce finalized a few months ago after separating from her husband last year. I think her entire therapy journey consists of turning every minor inconvenience into a patriarchy monologue. So yeah, that's the squad. Every Thursday, like clockwork, they gather for what they call wine night. But what's really just men are trash, the live podcast. I used to think it was cute. Encourage Stacy to go even. Go have fun. I'd say, like a complete moron. You deserve it. Oh, she deserved it all right. Deserved an Oscar for the performance she was about to unleash on me. Turns out, while I was at home watching reruns and thinking I had a happy marriage, these women were basically plotting my downfall like a Netflix miniseries. I wasn't appreciative enough, they said. I was too comfortable. God forbid a husband relaxes after 12 years of paying the mortgage, unclogging the drain, and pretending to care about throw pillows. No, what I needed was a good psychological hazing to remind me what I could lose. And boy, did Stacy get into character. She started working out more, buying new clothes. When I told her she looked great, she just smirked and said, "Oh, I just want to feel better about myself." Right. Because new Lululemon leggings at 9 p.m. scream personal growth, not I might be banging my coworker. Then came the little criticisms. Suddenly my hair wasn't good enough. My work clothes? A little boring. And why didn't I plan surprise dates anymore? Probably because I was busy trying to survive the emotional Hunger Games you were hosting in our living room, Stacy. And here's the Oscar-worthy part, the texts and calls. She'd sit on the couch, phone lighting up, whispering, giggling, then quickly putting it face down like she was guarding nuclear codes. Turns out, it was just Lauren and Melanie texting at all hours, playing the roles of her imaginary affair squad. Sometimes they even called so she could act all guilty and mysterious. It was like living in a telenovela, except I wasn't invited to any of the fun scenes. And this Mitchell guy from work? The one she kept mentioning in passing with a little too much enthusiasm? Yeah, Lauren and Melanie researched him. Looked him up on social media so Stacy could sprinkle in realistic details. Oh, Mitchell rides a motorcycle. He's really into rock climbing. Of course he is. I'm surprised she didn't tell me he rescues orphan raccoons on weekends. But here's the grand finale. The part that really made me question whether I was in a marriage or an immersive psychological thriller. Stacy confessed they had an actual timeline, like a PowerPoint presentation level of planning. Phases. Phase 1, be distant and secretive. Nailed it. Phase 2, fake texts and calls, plus I have to work late. Very professional. Phase 3, go out late, come back smelling like sin and betrayal. Thankfully, we never got here. Phase 4, disappear entire nights. Let me fully believe she was getting her back blown out by Mitchell the motorcycle messiah. Thankfully, Lauren got drunk and couldn't keep her mouth shut. She spilled the beans before we reached the Kurt cries into a bottle of scotch portion of the plan. Because let me tell you, I barely managed everything. So yeah, Stacy admitted it. In phases 1 and 2, no less. Like this was some kind of Marvel villain origin plan. She said it casually too, like she was describing IKEA furniture assembly. Oh, and we also took pictures and videos of you the whole time, she added, sipping her latte like she wasn't admitting to psychological warfare. We just thought it was funny how worked up you were getting. You got so romantic. Oh, romantic. Right. That part still burns. Apparently, me bringing her flowers and planning candlelit dinners, while I was busy unraveling like a dollar store sweater, was just part of the sitcom they were filming. I was the main character. The clown. The jester with roses. They thought it was hilarious. I'm not even paraphrasing. She literally said hilarious. I asked, wait, so you're telling me you were watching me spiral, and you thought it was funny? And she laughed. You were so sweet. You even cleaned out the garage. Well, I hope the footage of me crying next to a leaf blower wins them an Emmy. Maybe call it the Gaslight Diaries, featuring Kurt's emotional breakdown. Limited series. 6 episodes. Sponsored by Betrayal. What's really twisted is how actively she participated. Like, this wasn't just passive lying. No, she was giving live updates to her friends. Okay, so today I told him I was with my sister, but I was actually at brunch with Tessa and Mia. And you guys, he brought me croissants. Actual croissants. Apparently, they had a group chat. Can you imagine that? A whole group chat dedicated to documenting how fast I was descending into romantic desperation? I picture them sitting in a circle like evil Pinterest witches. Ooh, tell him you're going on a yoga retreat, and then ghost him for 24 hours. Let's see if he cries. People keep asking me if Stacy seemed conflicted about it. You know, like, maybe she had second thoughts, or guilt, or even basic humanity. Nope. If anything, she seemed invigorated. I hadn't seen her so energetic since she discovered online couponing. She had this bounce in her step like she was 23 again. I thought, wow, she must be in love. Spoiler alert, she was. With herself. On a power trip. She'd come home from work with this smug little smirk, like a cat that just knocked all the glasses off the counter and dared you to do something about it. And I'd be sitting there, disheveled and paranoid, asking, hey, did you go out last night? Your sister said she hasn't seen you. And she'd just blink slowly and go, why are you being so paranoid? Can I not have a life anymore? Which, fun fact, is exactly what her friends coached her to say. Apparently, the whole gang was giving her gaslighting advice like it was relationship boot camp. When I confronted her about the sister thing, they told her to flip it and make me the bad guy. Stacy, with a straight face, wow. I didn't realize I was dating a control freak. Me, I just wanted to know if you were safe. Her, oh my god, Kurt, do you want to implant a tracking chip in me next? Another classic. I tried talking to her about how distant she'd been. Hey, you seemed really withdrawn lately. Is something going on? And she said, word for word, I just need space. You're being really clingy. Clingy. Because I noticed my wife of 8 years was acting like a paid actress in her own marriage. My bad. So yeah, looking back, it wasn't just manipulation. It was choreographed. Like they sat around with a whiteboard. Okay, Monday, lie about work meeting. Tuesday, guilt trip. Wednesday, emotional detachment and wine night. And every time I discover another detail, I get angrier. Like, deep, full body rage. Because this wasn't a prank. This wasn't oops, went too far. This was a coordinated emotional mugging. I filed for divorce, obviously. And now she's leaving me voicemails every day like, Kurt, baby, I miss you. I realize now what I did was wrong. I'll never talk to them again, I swear. Sure. Because cutting out your evil henchman club after the heist went wrong is totally redemptive. Even her parents called me. Kurt, sweetheart, Stacy's really sorry. Everyone makes mistakes. Mistakes? Like accidentally putting salt in your coffee instead of sugar? No. This was 6 weeks of daily decisions to lie, manipulate, record me like some tragic zoo exhibit, and laugh about it. Even her sister had the gall to call me cruel for refusing to talk to Stacy about fixing things. Cruel. I told her, you know what's cruel? Watching your husband fall apart, doubt himself, and question reality, while you know exactly why he's suffering, and you're causing it on purpose. The divorce is moving forward, and honestly, I feel more at peace with my decision every single day, especially now that I know just how planned and calculated this entire disaster was. Like Olympic-level manipulation. If there were medals for emotional terrors, Stacy and her squad would be on a Wheaties box. Because now I realize that the woman I thought I married doesn't actually exist. Nope. She's like one of those cardboard cutouts in a department store. Looks normal from the front, hollow from behind. The real Stacy? Yeah. She's someone who apparently thinks it's totally acceptable to psychologically torture the person she claims to love for fun. You know, like a hobby. Crocheting, baking, gaslighting, pick your poison. People keep asking me, Kurt, do you miss her? And I say, sure, I miss the imaginary person I thought she was, like how I miss Saturday morning cartoons or the days when avocados didn't cost a kidney. But do I miss her? The actual flesh and blood Stacy who turned our marriage into a social experiment? Not even a little. In fact, I feel relieved, like I dodged a nuclear warhead disguised as a yoga-loving graphic designer. I mean, thank God we didn't have kids, or buy a house, or adopt a dog, or anything else that would tie me to that circus. Because every time I think about it, I can't help but wonder, what if Lauren hadn't gotten drunk and spilled the beans? How much longer would Stacy have let me flail around, thinking she was cheating? And let me tell you, the version of Stacy I thought I married, she wouldn't have let me suffer. She would have taken one look at me, sleep-deprived, dropping weight like a contestant on Survivor, pacing around like I was auditioning for Les Miserables, the nervous breakdown edition, and said, babe, here's the truth. You're not going crazy. But the real Stacy? The real Stacy watched that happen. She watched me spiral, and she enjoyed it. She bragged to her friends about how well their little prank was going. Like she was running a social media campaign, and I was the hashtag. That's not a person I want to be married to. That's not someone I could ever trust again. And I'm officially done feeling guilty for protecting myself from someone who clearly sees emotional torment as a group activity. And now, it gets better. So apparently, after all the crying and begging didn't work, and I mean full-on Oscar audition crying, Stacy decided to switch tactics. Brand new strategy. Now she's saying that the whole fake affair thing was actually my fault. Yes, my fault. She claims I wasn't paying enough attention to her, that she felt neglected and unappreciated in our marriage. So, yesterday, I get this long text from her. And when I say long, I mean longer than War and Peace, but with less self-awareness and more gaslighting. She goes on about how she'd been dropping hints for months, about wanting more romance and attention, and I, terrible, oblivious Kurt, was apparently ignoring all the signals. According to her, that left her with no other choice but to do something drastic to get my attention. And I kid you not, she actually typed the words, "You forced me to fake an affair." I had to reread it. Twice. I thought maybe she accidentally pasted a script from a Lifetime movie. But no, this was her new narrative. Apparently, this wasn't a prank anymore. Nope, now it's a legitimate emotional SOS that just so happened to involve months of deception, public humiliation, and my mental health in a blender. So I showed the message to my lawyer. He read it, slowly looked up at me, shook his head like a disappointed dad, and said, "I've never seen anyone dig themselves into a deeper hole so efficiently." He wasn't even mad, just impressed. Because now, instead of just owning her mess and apologizing like a normal person, she's trying to justify the whole thing and blame me. Like I drove her to it. As if the next logical step after my husband forgot our anniversary is time to fake infidelity and watch him unravel. But wait, there's more. So apparently, Stacy's been out there spinning a whole Disney Channel version of our divorce. According to her, I'm leaving her because, get this, she tried to spice things up and I'm just too jealous and controlling to appreciate her creative flair. I guess psychological warfare is the new scented candles and lingerie. I didn't even find this out through Stacy herself, obviously. No, I got pulled aside by my buddy David at work. David, who also works with Stacy, lucky guy. He corners me in the break room like we're in some kind of office espionage thriller and goes, "Dude, what the hell is going on? People at Stacy's office think you're divorcing her over some harmless flirting." Harmless. Flirting. I had to laugh. Actually laugh. Because it was either that or scream into the vending machine. I said, "Oh yeah, David. Totally harmless. She just spent 6 weeks playing gaslight the husband, with bonus points for emotional whiplash and spontaneous accusations. Very wholesome." David blinked like I'd slapped him with a fish. "She told us it was some game to get your attention." Game? I raised an eyebrow. If that was a game, then I've been speedrunning Emotional Trauma Simulator 3. Turns out, Stacy's doing a full PR tour. And I'm the jealous psycho who just couldn't handle a little fun. I'm sure her divorced gal pals are in her corner, probably baking cookies labeled "Justice for Stacy." Anyway, I decided I needed some kind of insurance policy, so I saved all the voicemails Stacy left me right after I found out about the whole mess. You know, the ones where she's bawling, apologizing, admitting everything was fake, and that she made a terrible mistake. You can practically hear her mascara running. But wait, it gets better. Lauren. Freaking Lauren. The friend who helped mastermind this flaming garbage heap of an idea decided it was damage control time. Apparently, sobriety hit her like a truck and she figured she could patch things up. She calls me and says, "Kurt, listen, we didn't mean to hurt you. It wasn't that big of a deal. You should really give Stacy another chance." Sure, Lauren. Let me just fire up the OL amnesia machine and forget I spent a month and a half thinking my wife was cheating on me for sport. But Lauren couldn't just stop there. Oh no. She helpfully provided even more horrific context. Because that's what friends are for, right? She tells me that the whole plan had been in the works for 3 months before they launched it. 3 months. That's longer than most reality TV show tapings. They did research. Actual research. Like full-on academic inquiry into how to make men jealous and possessive. Probably had spreadsheets, pie charts, maybe even a freaking TED Talk. And after exploring all their options, they landed on fake affair. Because, in their words, it was the most effective way to get you to step up your game as a husband. Beautiful. Nothing says romance like fake infidelity and a good OL dose of psychological manipulation. But it doesn't stop there. Oh no. Lauren, in her infinite wisdom, also tells me they had a group chat. Yes, a group chat, where they documented everything. Sharing updates. Celebrating my mental breakdowns. Like I was the unwitting star of some twisted improv show called Operation Make Kurt Sweat. And yes, they called it Operation Wake Up Call. I honestly gagged. My stomach did an interpretive dance. But here's the final cherry on top of this moldy Sunday. Lauren said they were actually disappointed in me. Disappointed. She says, "We were starting to wonder if maybe you didn't care enough to fight for her. You took so long to confront Stacy. We were like, does he even love her?" Oh, I'm sorry. Was I not performing well enough in the experimental theater production of Manipulate Your Man? So not only did they emotionally torture me for 6 weeks, but they were also sitting around with popcorn, evaluating my performance as a worried husband, trying to figure out if I'd react strongly enough to make their little experiment worthwhile. Like I was some kind of lab rat that wasn't meeting their expectations. Lauren also let me in on another gem. Apparently Melanie, resident evil mastermind of their little mean girls coven, had actually suggested taking things even further. Yeah, according to Lauren, the next phase of Operation Gaslight Kurt was going to be Stacy going on a fake date with some random dude, just to see how far they could push me before I finally snapped and, I don't know, set the kitchen on fire or started muttering to houseplants. Thankfully, even they decided that might be a bit much. Not because they suddenly grew a conscience. Please. No, they were just worried I might hire a private investigator or, heaven forbid, use my one functioning brain cell to uncover their genius-level stunt. The only thing that stopped them from turning this whole circus into a 3-ring spectacle was their fear of getting caught. Imagine being so deeply committed to nonsense that your only reason for not faking an affair is fear that your husband might discover you're faking an affair. The fact that they even considered going that far? It tells me everything I need to know. These women have no boundaries, no shame, no concept of human decency, just endless time and wine-fueled ideas. If left unchecked, I swear they would have handed me fake receipts, hired an actor to play her lover, and staged a full-blown Maury episode in our living room. And get this, Stacy's parents knew something was going on. Apparently she'd asked them for advice on how to make me more romantic and attentive. Cute, right? Hi Mom and Dad. How do I get Kurt to be more loving while I'm emotionally torturing him? Any tips? She told them she was planning some surprises. You know, fun little relationship surprises like nuclear gaslighting and character assassination. So of course, her parents thought she was being all sweet and proactive. And when they found out the truth, after I filed for divorce, by the way, they were, and I quote from Lauren, absolutely horrified. Which, yeah, fair. Imagine thinking your daughter's trying to spice up her marriage, and then finding out she's actually starring in Gone Girl, Pinterest edition. But here's the kicker. They're still trying to convince me to give her another chance. Because, of course, nothing says healthy marriage like elaborate psychological warfare. Her dad actually called me. Real serious tone, too. Like he was delivering a eulogy or something. He goes, "Look, Kurt, I understand why you're angry." And I go, "Do you? Do you really, Frank?" He continues, "But Stacy's learned her lesson. Don't you think divorce is a bit extreme?" So I told him, "Frank, what your daughter did was extreme." My response is actually the chill part of this equation. Then I dropped this little logic bomb on him. If a stranger had spent 6 weeks trying to convince me my wife was cheating on me just for fun, you'd want me to press charges, right? You'd be like, "Kurt, call the cops, sue them for emotional damage, change your locks." But because it was Stacy, suddenly it's just a quirky misunderstanding, a rough patch. The line went real quiet after that. I think that was the moment it clicked for him. This wasn't just a lover's quarrel or some rom-com misunderstanding that could be fixed with therapy and a bouquet of regret roses. This was grade A psychological sabotage. Anyway, the divorce process is actually moving pretty fast, thank God. My lawyer says that since we don't have kids and our finances are about as complicated as a toaster, we should be able to wrap this up quickly. Honestly, I just want it over. I'm done being the unwilling participant in whatever chaotic performance art Stacy and Melanie were cooking up. And once it's finalized, I'm moving. Different part of town. Far, far away from Stacy, Melanie, and anyone else who ever used the phrase just to test your loyalty. I don't want to run into them at the gym, the grocery store, or anywhere that sells wine by the box. Some people have asked if I miss Stacy. You know, like I might suddenly pine for the good old days of being gaslit into thinking I wasn't supportive enough because I didn't react properly to her fake affair. And to those people, I say, I miss the person I thought she was. I don't miss the person she actually turned out to be. And frankly, I feel relieved. Because now I know what she's capable of. And I'm beyond grateful I found out before we had kids, bought a house, or made any other major commitments. I keep thinking about what would have happened if Lauren hadn't gotten drunk and let the cat, or in this case, the flaming disaster goat, out of the bag. How much longer would Stacy have let me stew in my own misery, convinced she was cheating on me? Weeks? Months? Maybe she had a calendar with Kurt's nervous breakdown marked in glitter pen. And that's when it hit me. The woman I thought I married, loving, kind, empathetic, she would never have been able to sit back and watch me spiral into a ball of sleepless, half-starved paranoia without telling me the truth. But the real Stacy? Oh, she was front row at the circus, popcorn in hand, laughing with her friends about how well their little Operation Emotional Torpedo was going. I was losing weight, losing sleep, and pacing around like I'd misplaced my sanity, and she was enjoying it. She wasn't just fine with my suffering. She was thriving. That's not a partner. That's a Bond villain with a group chat. And I'm done. Done feeling guilty for walking away. Done protecting someone who clearly thought my nervous breakdown was a fun experiment in male fragility. If there was a Nobel Prize for gaslighting, she'd have given her acceptance speech in a pantsuit. So, I thought I was finished with this whole catastrophe of a saga. Truly, I was emotionally packed, spiritually checked out, ready to sail into the sunset of peaceful singledom. But then, because the universe has a deeply ironic sense of humor, something so ridiculous happened yesterday. Honestly, I couldn't make this up if I tried. And trust me, I've got a vivid imagination. I once dreamed I was trapped in IKEA with my ex-mother-in-law and no exit signs. Still less terrifying than this. Anyway, the divorce process has been crawling forward. Paperwork, signatures, please stop texting me, Stacy, the usual. It's supposed to be finalized next week. I figured the worst of the drama was behind me. But apparently, Stacy's friends were like, what if we doubled down one more time? Enter Melanie. She calls me yesterday afternoon. Says she wants to meet for coffee to talk about Stacy. I should have let it go straight to voicemail and yeeted my phone into the ocean. But no, I was curious. Curiosity, the exact reason people get eaten in horror movies. So I agreed. We met at this little coffee shop. She walks in like it's an intervention, all solemn, like she's about to confess she's secretly Batman. She starts off with, Kurt, I just want to say I'm really sorry for my part in all of this. For a second, I thought, wow, accountability? Growth? Is this a deleted scene from a redemption arc? Nope. She goes, we didn't realize how far it would go. It was a mistake. We were just trying to help. I nodded slowly, sipping my espresso, wondering how many sips I had left before I lost my remaining brain cells. Then she says, but I have a confession to make. Now, I'm thinking, what could possibly make this any worse? Did they bury a body? Did they start a cult? Was Stacy cheating and faking it? My expectations were low, but Melanie limboed under them. She leans in, all dramatic, like she's about to reveal that I'm adopted. The real reason we came up with the fake affair plan, she says, was because Stacy thought you were cheating. I blink. I'm sorry, what? She suspected you were being unfaithful, Melanie says, straight-faced. Because, you were working late and going to the gym more, and you changed your phone password. So, being employed, caring about my cholesterol, and using two-factor authentication made me suspicious? She nods, completely sincere. Apparently, according to Melanie's new script, Stacy had been worried for months that I was cheating on her, and instead of, talking to me, she decided to gather her Avengers of bad decisions to concoct a plan. And that plan, to fake an affair, to test my loyalty, if I was cheating on her. I wouldn't care that it looked like she was cheating on me too. Yay symmetry, right? But then Melanie said something that nearly made me choke on my overpriced cafe mocha. If you were faithful, she said, tilting her head like a smug therapist on a discount talk show, you'd get jealous and fight for the marriage. That would prove you still loved her and weren't being unfaithful. I just stared. Really stared. I gave her the kind of look you reserve for someone who says they eat soup with a fork because it's less wet that way. Wait, I finally said, dragging the word out like I was trying to stretch sense into this circus of nonsense. So let me get this straight. According to you, if I had thrown a fit, flown into a jealous rage, and tried to win her back while being completely faithful, that would have confirmed I loved her? But because I didn't turn into a reality TV contestant, I must have been cheating too. Melanie smiled like she'd just solved world hunger using Pinterest quotes. I blinked at her. You don't actually believe that, do you? She shrugged. It was to test your loyalty. Oh, like I'm a golden retriever, and this is some convoluted game of emotional fetch. She started sputtering, probably realizing this wasn't going the way she imagined when she rehearsed it in front of her bathroom mirror. Then I asked, and why? Exactly. Did Stacy never mention that she suspected me? We talked about the divorce, a lot. Not once did she say, hey Kurt, sorry I blew up our marriage like a gender reveal party gone wrong. It's just that I thought you were having an affair. Not even when she was ugly crying and begging me to forgive her. Melanie's eyes darted around like a malfunctioning Roomba. She felt ashamed. Yeah, she didn't want to accuse you without proof. So she kept it to herself and only asked us for advice. Oh wow, touching. She didn't want to accuse me, so instead she ran a covert operation with her friends and created a whole fake affair scenario to see if I'd break under pressure. That's adorable. Like CIA, but make it petty. Here's the thing. I know that's a steaming pile of grade A manure. Stacy had no reason to suspect me. I've never cheated on anyone in my life, haven't even thought about it. And the so-called red flags Melanie listed? Please. I worked late. I said, ticking it off on my fingers, because I have a job. Shocking. I changed my phone password because I got a new phone and needed tighter security for work apps. Because, client confidentiality matters. And I went to the gym more because my doctor said, hey, maybe don't die of cholesterol by 50. Melanie looked at me like I'd just spoken in fluent dolphin. These are normal human behaviors, I continued. Not signs of an illicit affair with some gym bunny named Tanya. And Stacy never once acted like she was suspicious. She never asked about my work hours. Never mentioned the phone. Never made passive-aggressive comments about my protein shake consumption. I leaned back in my chair. So forgive me if I don't buy this revisionist fairy tale you're trying to sell. Melanie looked like she'd just swallowed a lemon. Well, I think you're being unreasonable. Stacy really was worried about the marriage. I snorted. Yeah, because the best way to express marital concern is to stage a fake affair plot with your friends. Very healthy. Super therapeutic. Then she hit me with the punchline of the century. Even if her suspicions were wrong, the fake affair worked. You got more attentive, more romantic. If you hadn't overreacted and filed for divorce, your marriage could have been stronger than ever. I stared at her like she had just suggested we dig up Einstein and ask him to DJ her cousin's wedding. You mean to tell me, I said slowly, that being lied to, gaslit, and psychologically manipulated worked, so I should be grateful? Should I send a thank you fruit basket? Her smile faltered. Our marriage would have been stronger, I said, standing up, if Stacy had talked to me like a grown adult instead of forming the emotional inquisition with her bitter girlfriends. The fact that she thought lying and manipulating me was better than just saying, hey, I feel weird about something, tells me everything I need to know about her. And all of you. I grabbed my jacket. Delete my number, Melanie. And tell Stacy and the rest of the women who run with red flags to do the same. The only person I want to hear from is my lawyer. And just so you know, this little final attempt to gaslight me into forgiving your collective nonsense, it's only reinforcing my decision. I walked out of the coffee shop, leaving her sitting there with her jaw practically vacuum sealed to the table. Honestly, I half expected to hear it thud onto the floor. I didn't even look back. Just got into my car, put the key in the ignition, and drove off like a man escaping a cult. I wasn't even going anywhere specific, just driving in circles trying to process the sheer audacity of their latest lie. First, it was just a harmless joke, Kurt. Then it morphed into you made her do it. And now apparently the abuse, gaslighting, and complete destruction of my trust was a test of my loyalty. A test. Like I'm some contestant on Wife Survivor, Psychological Warfare Edition. It was like watching a masterclass in gaslighting taught by people who majored in mental gymnastics and minored in sociopathy. They were so committed to the bit, so deep into their twisted narrative, that I'm pretty sure if I asked them what day it was, they'd accuse me of manipulating time. At that point, honestly, it was almost impressive. Almost. If I weren't the idiot at the center of their social experiment, I might have applauded. But I wasn't clapping. I was done. Absolutely done being the butt of their joke. And here's the punchline. I'm finally free. So it's done. After 8 months of the most ridiculous, drawn-out, Kafkaesque nonsense imaginable, the divorce is final. 8 whole months. I swear. Every single day was like a new episode of How to Break Kurt's Spirit Without Breaking a Sweat. Stacy, or one of her Mensa-level friends, found a new way to make me question my sanity on the regular. One time I literally had to check if I was being punked. Spoiler, I was. Just not by Ashton Kutcher. But now I'm on the other side. And to be perfectly honest, I'm numb. Melanie had tried to sell me again that absolute garbage about it all being a loyalty test. I thought that was the peak of their crazy. But oh no. No. That was just the scenic overlook on the way to Mount Madness. Because over the next few months, Stacy's strategy evolved. First, she was a sobbing mess in my voicemail inbox. Then, cold, robotic emails from her lawyer, like she was trying to cosplay as a tax auditor. I'm talking. Dear Kurt, pursuant to paragraph 4B of the prenup, kindly return the espresso machine. Meanwhile, she was telling mutual friends I abandoned her at her lowest point. Right. Apparently her rock bottom involved hiring emotional snipers to take potshots at my dignity. And then her lawyer sent me a demand letter for a stock pot. I kid you not. A stock pot. As a wedding gift. I told my lawyer, if she needs that stock pot so badly, maybe she can boil all her lies in it. Her parents kept trying to mediate, which was less mediation and more guilt trip. Her dad literally said, you know, Kurt, marriage is hard. I said yes. Marriage is hard. What your daughter did. That wasn't marriage. That was psychological saw with better lighting. I think that was the moment it clicked for him, because they stopped calling after that. Maybe he finally read the script. But oh, the grand finale. The final mediation session? Stacy brought Jessica. Yes, Jessica. One of the founding board members of Operation Wake Up Call herself. She walked in like she was auditioning for the Real Housewives of Passive Aggression, sat down beside Stacy, and just smiled. Like she was the relationship whisperer instead of the human equivalent of a dumpster fire. I just looked at my lawyer and said, I'm not saying a single word while the Cruella of emotional sabotage is in this room. The mediator blinked. You want her to leave? Yes, I said. Unless we're reenacting a war crime. In which case, carry on. Stacy acted like I'd committed a hate crime by not wanting one of the people who helped orchestrate my emotional breakdown sitting in while we decided who gets the bookshelf. I mean, really, you cannot make this stuff up. The day the papers were officially finalized was weird. My lawyer forwarded the email with a subject line that just said done. No fireworks, no parade, just silence. I'm still crashing at my brother's place, looking for my own apartment. I needed time, not just from Stacy, but from the house, the walls, the furniture, hell, even the dog bed. That house was a war zone with IKEA accents. I know I did the right thing. No doubt. Not a single fiber of me questions it. But it's still hard. Hard to accept that this is my life now. Divorced at 36 because my wife and her friends thought emotional abuse would be a fun way to spice up our marriage. Yeah, that's still the craziest thing I've ever been through. And I'm just glad it's finally over. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.